Good morning, NanoCon attendees. Hopefully you've had some coffee this morning, wherever you are in the world. For me, it's lunchtime. For these guys out in Arizona, it's their day's just getting underway.
Yep.
But it's my pleasure to introduce Eric Walters, Andrew Grady, and Marshall Norris. They're one of our sponsors, and they're from Nano Canning Solutions out in Scottsdale, Arizona. They're going to take you through a little overview of the system. And just a reminder, put any of your questions for the team in the question Q&A function on the far right, and we'll get to as many of those as we can at the end of the segment. Take it away, Eric.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're really honored to be here at NanoCon. We've all been part of this craft beer industry for several years, and it's just a great industry, a lot of amazing people. To be able to talk with guys and gals like you that are taking these big steps to open up your own spots or expand your spots. Just an honor to talk with you guys. So yeah, we are Cano. We specialize in a nano canning solution, a compact, awesome canning line. And we're going to get to that, the details of that in a few minutes here. We're proudly made in the USA, right here in Arizona. And today we're going to kind of go through why you should be packaging, why your brewery should be packaging your product, some aspects to consider when you're looking at some packaging solutions, and some questions to ask yourself and the folks that you're talking to about these specific canning solutions that you're looking at. And then we're going to go over the Cano difference, the machine that we've created, and the things that we've addressed to create the perfect packaging solution for yourself. Walters, I'm in charge of sales and marketing for Cano. Andrew Grady is joining along as well, and he is our founder and the builder of this machine. And then Marshall Norris is our canning expert. Shout out to Marshall. We're here at his brewery, as you can see in the background. We have the canning line as well as his brewing equipment back here. So Simple Machine Brewery here in Phoenix, Arizona, and Marshall Norris is going to take it from here.
Hi, everybody. Thanks again. Just want to reiterate Eric's point here. I appreciate being here, and thank you for your time. Glad to be part of Cano, or Nano Canning. So first, why should you be packaging? In the past, there was a number of limitations. You had space. Canning machines are notoriously large in the past. They weren't terribly efficient. Some required multiple barrels just to fire up. I've run machines that required 3 barrels, and we ran on a 3-barrel brew house for a long time. So that's just not efficient for a lot of people. There's financial constraints. Canning machines are expensive. Until recently, there was a lot of options, or wasn't a lot of options that were available below $100,000. And complexity. A lot of times these machines are highly engineered. They require special staff. Why should you package? Continued in today's market. Canning machines are much more affordable. There's a lot more options available under $50,000. A lot of these new machines are much more compact, and a lot of these machines are highly efficient. They're being designed for smaller companies. There's a huge opportunity in packaging. Whether you're doing it just for in-house or not, there's an increased revenue opportunity where somebody comes into your tap room and they walk out with a 4-pack. You've got the ability to reduce your cooperage needs and increase your shelf life to your product. And then most importantly, you have the ability to increase your brand awareness by somebody having that package in their hand. Getting cans out into market has been huge for us, and I will touch on that later in the presentation. Aspects to consider when you're canning: you have to think about your goals first and foremost. And under that, you want to consider what can size are you going to use, whether it's 16 ounce because you're trying to get a cheaper cost per fill. You want to do 12 ounce because that happens to be the market that you exist in, or you want to package some specialty barrel-aged high ABV product in like a 12 ounce or 10 ounce sleek can. Are those cans going to stay in-house? Is it just add-on taproom sales that you're shooting for? Do you want to get into statewide distribution? What package size do you want to do for that? Is your goal one day to be a regional brewer? You know, in what package size? 6-pack, 12, or 4-pack, 16? Do you want to do 12 packs or 24 packs? And in mobile canning, are they an option for you? You know, if you haven't looked into mobile canning, they often have a high minimum product requirement. You operate on their schedule, and they're not packaging their product, so nobody's going to care about you like you do. And oftentimes they make you alter your production schedule to follow along. Next aspect to consider is quality. You want your prepackaged product to stay at high quality. If somebody walks out of the tap room with a 4-pack of your cans, it's no longer in your control to control the quality of it. So you need to make sure that it's packaged properly. Dissolved oxygen. It's the elephant in the room. Instead of asking how much DO does a machine impart, a better question to ask would be how much does the machine mitigate the concerns of DO? Every machine can have high DO depending on the operator and the beer conditions. Ultimately, our machine can address those, and we'll talk about those very soon. DO is not and will never be an issue if your process is to standard and you know how to operate your machine. Next aspect to consider, cost. What is your budget? How much do you want to spend on this machine, and how quickly do you think that the return will come on that? Can you calculate it? Do you understand the figures involved in the budget? What are you getting with the machine? Are there hidden costs? You know, do you need a way to load the cans? Do you need an additional product to rinse the cans or to purge the cans? Considering packaging costs. Where are you sourcing your cans from? Where are you getting your ends? Where are you getting your labels designed from? Are you buying bright cans, or are you having pre-shrink wrap cans? Another aspect to consider is space. Where is your machine going to be stored? Is it going to have a dedicated operation location, or is it meant to be mobile? And in your operating location, do you have the required utilities to operate and run your line efficiently? I'm going to hand it over to Andrew to talk about that exactly.
Hi guys, good afternoon, where you're located. Utilities and additional hidden costs. One thing often overlooked is the price of the canning line, and the location is just one thing to consider. Where is it going to go, and the access it has is often overlooked. In other words, how are you going to get the beer there and the CO2 that every machine is going to require? Where it's at, do you have access to that? What does that look like? The plumbing specifically. Your machine's going to require an air compressor. What size air compressor? Where is that air compressor going to go? And what are the power requirements of that air compressor? Does it require 3-phase? As well as the machine on the electrical aspects. Is 3-phase required to run that machine? If so, do you have it? Is it available at your building? And if not, you know, what's that going to cost to have it installed? We're going to go over a little bit later here things that we've done to mitigate those concerns as well, as they are all things that need to be considered when purchasing a canning line. I'm going to hand this back to Marshall here.
So, final considerations when you're looking at canning machines. How are your cans being rinsed? If you have any experience in packaging or unloading pallets of cans, oftentimes they have dust in them. Do you have to purchase additional equipment to get a twist rinse pre-fill? Are you dipping them in a bucket? Machine cleaning. How does your line cycle CIP? Do you have the required utilities to the area in order to accomplish that? Is it over a drain? Are your cans being purged? Do you have to purge them independently, or is it included in the line? How is the lid being applied to your can? Is it being applied by hand like some manufacturers require, or is it being more automated? When you set up your operation, what does your pack in look like? How are you loading the cans? How are they being filled, and how are they being packed out? And how does the flow in your space work with the machine? And is that machine mobile, or are you trying to bring the beer to the machine, or are you trying to bring the machine to the beer? Hand it back to Andrew.
So we started on this mission about 4 years ago, where the options were very limited for what we considered underserved breweries of the nano scale. You're either having to fill cans by hand and then use something along the lines of an October seamer, which is a very viable option. But if you wanted to expand, that became very labor intensive. Beyond that, the only other options currently available at the time are mobile canning, which, as Marshall touched upon, usually require mandatory minimums, whereas most of the breweries that we deal with, it far exceeds their capabilities at that time, and you're on their fixed schedule as well. And then you have a large fixed piece of equipment that requires space and additional capital. So our mission was to provide a high quality product at an affordable price point that was compact, simple to use. So the compact aspect of it is you can wheel it to your beer and then get it out of your way and store it easily, so that you can get on with the rest of your operations that you have to do that day. And keeping it simple meant that it's going to do exactly what it was required to do, which is can beer and not provide a lot of drama in your life. Again, none of this was really worthwhile to consider if the quality of the end product was not there. So Marshall's going to get into exactly how we've achieved that.
And I'm back. All right, I'm going to reiterate. Not only do we have a quality product, but the quality of your prepackaged product has to be exceptional. Because once again, once this product leaves your brewery, it is no longer in your control for that customer. Your whole brand rests on the quality inside of this can. First and foremost, adaptability. Our machine was developed for the craft brewer, the guy or gal who makes 100 different beers a year, different styles, different carb levels, different temperatures, depending on your space. We've adapted with restrictor plates, bottom fill nozzles, and our software. We have the ability to meet a range of styles at high quality with and inevitable variances in beer conditions and situations. Dissolved oxygen is going to be the elephant in the room all the time. We've come up with a number of ways to mitigate this concern. On our fill stations, we have pre-purged CO2, which purges the can of oxygen before it gets filled. Our closed nozzles prevent any air from coming into the tubes, unlike other manufacturers, and they fill from the bottom, so that as the liquid is rising up out of the can, there's a blanket of CO2 and foam protecting the product. Again, with our flow restriction and nozzles, we can control the flow rate by changing the inner diameter of the beer tubing, and it allows us to generate unmatched quality by controlling weight and foam. On the screen now is a video of an open fill nozzle running product in my brewery, and by using restriction, you can cut it all the way down to nothing, or control it all the way up to fast flow. Lid placement. As we control the flow of the beer and generate the proper amount of foam, you get a foam dome or a muffin top, as we like to call it. As the lid comes onto the can, on that proper foam dome, it splooshes the foam backwards, purging any beer that did come in contact with oxygen, as well as purging out any oxygen that may be trapped under the lid in the gap. Once the lid comes onto the can, it goes underneath the skate, which applies a light amount of pressure to keep the lid in place and not allow any oxygen to seep in. And then from the time the lid comes onto the can on our machine to the time that it gets seamed is very short, which allows us to control dissolved oxygen as well. And then lastly, through our restriction, every single fill of yours can be perfectly weighed out, and the line comes with a scale. I'm going to hand this one over to Andrew, and we're going to talk about our seam technology.
Yeah, so our seamer is something that's quite unique on the market. I wanted to design something that required no adjustment on your end if you wanted to run different size cans. In other words, just simply place the can on there, and it'll seam anywhere from 8 ounce to 16 ounce with zero adjustment required. Through our high lift puck and stabilization rod, we were able to achieve that. So on our line, you only have to lower the lid dispenser to make any adjustments to run different size cans, which is quite unique. Again, on the market, you typically have to do 3 adjustments: the seamer, the lid, and the nozzles. Next is our ability to test our seams. We have the option to, let me get Eric here to change the slide. Okay, what we're showing here is the ability to test our seams by running our ops independently. You can run op 1, test your seam, make your adjustments and get it to spec, and then simply through our software run op 2 to do your final seam inspection without having to burn through both operations again and going through cans. You can do them independently, which again is something that makes us a little bit unique on the market. The maintenance is incredibly simple for this. It's just simply greasing the rollers. There's sort of fittings on top, and it's a quick, easy access. Typically, we see about 15,000 cans through this and require rather greasing of the bearings, and that's about it. The line itself is very maintenance friendly when it comes to that kind of thing. So Eric, you're going to go over the cost here.
And there's just a little little video of showing the whole kind of process of that seaming. So the cost of our canner is $25,000. It's right in the area of competitors and you know, the affordability and the budgets of a lot of these nano breweries, you know, like yourselves. This thing comes out of the box, out of the crate, ready to go. We do a training when we get these machines we've sent them to Oklahoma City, we've sent them to Daytona Beach, the New England states, you know, throughout Arizona, California. And so when we get there and these machines are created, within 30 minutes to an hour, this thing is already canning beer. So this thing's ready to go. You don't need 3-phase power. It's got the typical 120 volt power that's needed. The only real cost, in addition to $25,000, is the shipping and training for this machine.
Yeah, and I want to touch upon that again. So we talked about utilities required and some of the ways we've solved this. So as Eric had mentioned, sorry, I got lost here in my slides. Here. There we are. So I wanted to solve a lot of these issues with utilities. So it's compressor, power requirements, etc. So when we designed the line, we made it with the compressor built in, so that's solved, and the plumbing is nice and clean. You simply need one plug-in. It's a 110 outlet plug. It's a 50-foot lead on it, and that powers up the compressor as well as everything else. We've got a rinse tray that's built into the canning line. It's got a CIP built into the canning line, and the CO2 splitter that comes with it as well. The space required is minimal, as it's a 4-foot wide frame, 12 inches deep. It's on casters, so you bring the line to your product instead of bringing your product to the line. So assuming you can bring your beer to your bright tanks and you have CO2 drops there, as just about everybody does, that solves that issue so far as plumbing and utilities. Typically, you're going to have a floor drain in front of those tanks as well. But if not, we have a drain set up whereas you can use a 5-gallon bucket underneath to contain any waste from the rinse tray and from running the machine. That's convenient because we've had some breweries here in Arizona where we have high ambient temperatures in the breweries where they've chose to can within their walk-in coolers, sometimes running off of half barrels and so on. And they're able to just use a 5-gallon bucket to contain the waste. Typically, when the machine is adjusted to spec, there's very little waste on the beer side. It's simply more from the rinsing of the cans. Again, the CIP is self-contained, so that handles that aspect of the utility. We have a 5-gallon corner keg that's connected with our CO2 system that you simply connect to the beer lines after running and push your cleaning product through. That incidentally is where we'll run our sanitizer solution. We'll connect that to our rinse tray. Again, the keg is constantly under pressure through the CO2 that we brought to the machine that we're using primarily to purge the cans, but it's also controlling our CIP as well. So these are just some of the ways that we've looked at the issues that breweries have and tried to solve these issues by providing, as Eric stated, a ready-to-rock canning line. And that once you receive it, as long as you have the cans, the beer, and the lids, we provide everything else at the price point outside of shipping and training, and you will be packaging within a half hour or so of Marshall and I showing up, and you will have product ready to sell. I think we have hit upon that, so we're going to go to final considerations. I'm going to hand it back off to Marshall here on this one.
So, final considerations, guys. This machine is all in one. It's got everything you need to just start running. It's the complete package. It has the ease of operation. The software is intuitive. You have incredible control despite the simple design and function. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for some walkthroughs on that. Everything on this line is streamlined. It's made to be brought to the product. Everyone on my team, even our volunteers, know how to operate it. Which leads me to my story. January will be 4 years for Simple Machine Brewing Company. We had our grand opening in January of 2020. In that year, we anticipated brewing about 330 barrels and packaging about 10% of it. Little did we know, 3.5 months into running, that we would be shut down due to COVID. And after about 2 days of sitting in our empty tap room, pondering our life, we decided that we needed to turn on a dime, and we started packaging. So by the end of 2020, we had made 440 barrels, and about 48% of that product went into cans. It happened right at the time that Canna was ready to start testing. I gave it a run for its money. The next year, we grew. We continued on we were on a 3-barrel system. The next year, we produced 700 barrels, just over 700 barrels, and we packaged almost 350 of that 700. And every year since, we've been running about 40% packaged. It forced us to get our branded product into people's hands and start distributing it outside of our brewery, which only drove business into our tap room. Once people are in the tap room, they see our cans and they buy it to go. We attribute our success to our ability to package and our ability to be mobile. There's a great picture of me standing in a cooler full of packaged product. It really gets our brand and our story and our social media out into the hands of people all over the state. And today you see me standing in front of 14 tanks, whereas we started with 2. So in the last 3.5 years, it's really stepped up and saved us. And like I said, everyone on my team can run this machine.
And I'm going to do a little brag for Marshall as well. Not only has Marshall found success out here in Arizona, but he's gotten lots of accolades. They were named the best. I think they were named the best newish brewery by Phoenix Magazine, because during the COVID year there was no best of. But at the first opportunity they had, they won best newish brewery. They've won best brewery, and the packaged product has a huge part to that. Obviously, the product that Marshall puts into that can is essential, but I guess the hype throughout the state of Marshall's can art and this stuff that really stands out. And so when you match a great product with a great package, it's incredible. So one final thing I would say about this machine is that it makes packaging your product, makes canning your product a part of your day, right? This thing runs about 18 to 20 cases of 16-ounce cans per hour. So 2 hours of your day can be packaging, not 2 full days of your week. So it makes it really efficient, and it makes it a piece of what you're doing. So this is our contact information. Reach out to me directly for sales inquiries, questions about the canner, and I'll defer you to Marshall and Andrew. I will update the phone numbers because I just put my number in there 3 times. I just noticed, but that's all of our emails. That's my phone number. So reach out if solve your packaging solution or solve your packaging problems. I think we've got a little bit of time for some Q&A. Kiev, right?
Great. Well, thanks, guys. That's a really unique setup. I especially love the ability to switch your can sizes so easily. That's a really unique aspect of what you guys are offering. One question we did have from Francisco, he's asking if you'll share the slide deck with the attendees.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can send that to me, I'll share it with them through the link back to this recording of the presentation, and they can follow along.
Yep, for sure. I'll get that over to you.
And just a reminder, folks, we've got some time yet. We've got 4 minutes yet if you want to get a question into the Q&A area or pop it in the chat, and I will pose it to the Nano canning guys here. But one thing, you gave kind of a time frame, Eric, of the whole run. What is the time frame just to set up and then the cleaning aspect without factoring the canning components in there?
Yeah, so I mean, this thing's up and running within 15, 20 minutes of, if you're going to start packaging at 10 o'clock, 9:45, you're getting this thing rolling over. And that's what's great. You can kind of see it in the background here. It's on the locking caster, so it makes it really easy and simple and quick to get this thing ready to go. And like they said, too, it comes right to the product. So they're pulling it right up to their bright tanks. So getting this thing operating, it doesn't have to be put on a table. It doesn't have to be carried out by anybody. One person rolls this thing out, gets it ready to go. So within 15, 20 minutes, you're packaging your product.
That's great. We do have a couple of questions that have been posed now. Scott is asking, do you have distribution and support in Canada?
We do, right? We send canning machines to Canada. Yep, absolutely.
Great. So just contact you and to coordinate that?
Yeah, please. Yep. That is my number. It looks like a fake number. That's still my number from Ohio, but that's my number 3 times there. So give me a call, send me an email. We'd be happy to get a machine into Canada.
So if I could speak to that real quick, we use an external shipper. The one thing to consider when shipping into Canada is a customs broker on your end to make sure that your paperwork is in line. We would get the item, of course, to the border, but really it's something that you're going to want to check with to make sure the paperwork and all the requirements are handled to come through customs. That, of course, is a unique situation versus just shipping around the United States.
Similar, Andrew, if it's going outside of North America?
Yeah, very much so. We got inquiries from Costa Rica, Venezuela, all over. So I've been in touch with my shipping agent. Okay, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? And the answer is pretty much the same. What we do is we get it to the port and say the brewery owner in Costa Rica is really responsible for the paperwork and so on. There's so many variances, and as you can imagine, with Venezuela, Costa Rica, it's a pretty unique situation that you're shipping into, the politics and so on. Say versus say Hawaii, which we're in talks with the brewery over there right now. Within the U.S., that's just a simple, the paperwork's not required. Just simply get it to the ship. So yeah, it's just out of country. There are many different variances.
A quick recommendation as well on our end. A few of the stainless tanks you see in the background we bought from overseas. We didn't have any idea how to do it, being such a small company. I just reached out to a larger brewery, and generally they're more than happy to share who their importer was, and that's how we got hooked up with the guy that we've been using since then to bring in equipment. So just a recommendation. Ask within your industry. Hell, even ask me if you want. I'll tell you who we used to get it. So.
The other question goes along with that. Eric was wondering if the training comes with that if you're out of country.
Okay, so basically within the state of Arizona, $25,000 is all inclusive. That includes shipping, training, everything. Unfortunately, outside of the state is additional costs. So where you're located, and the shipping required, and the time involved with us to get there is going to be additional, and that's on a case by case basis, right? So we've shipped to Maine, and then we've shipped to Los Angeles. Los Angeles, was a no-brainer for us. Just hop on the freeway and we're there. So no, training will be required, and that's essentially we'll have to look at the time expenditure. So if we're flying out of country, that's going to be considerably more than spending an afternoon over in Los Angeles or a day in Oklahoma City, for that matter. For the most part, what we like to do is fly in and train you up and fly out that day. So pretty much a 24-hour turnaround for us, so that we can get back to building these things. But yeah, that is a conversation we'd have to have with your situation. And I just want to reiterate, Keith, if you don't have questions right now, that's great. Please feel free to use us as a resource and reach out to any one of us. Marshall's the expert on running the machine. I'm the guy that built it, and Eric handles our marketing. So we can direct you to the appropriate person to speak with. If you have any questions about packaging and you want to reach out to us, or a piece of equipment you're looking, please use us as a resource. Feel free. We love talking about canning and packaging. It's all we've done and thought about for the last 5 years straight, every single minute. So, and we'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, first and foremost, we support small business, and if you just have questions on where you should go, or you have a machine that's not working right, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to answer questions and share knowledge. Even if we're not the right fit, I think we're a good resource team, and we can help get you in the right direction.
Well, guys, we're actually over time. We did have another question come in from Rick. Rick, I'm going to ask you to email that to them about the video training. I'll bring down that contact information again. And Eric, if you could send me the slide deck, I'll share that with the attendees as well.
Yep.
But thank you, guys. Great presentation. Looks like a great unit for this segment of the industry, and we appreciate your sponsorship. And I'll be following up with you on Monday.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
attendees, you'll select your next seminar in the upper left schedule. We'll be starting up at 12:50 Eastern. That's 8:50 Pacific. Thanks a lot. 9:50 Pacific, sorry.